was watching a little bit of the trial and the machinations and the theater of it all. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Trump, there's a it's history being made. The hush money, remember the money paid to Stormy Daniels, and I just watched the documentary, the Stormy documentary. I think it was on Max, and it was very revelatory. I didn't think I would learn some things, but I did learn some things about her and this whole case and how the entanglement happened with Trump, and how while it was consensual because she didn't say no, it falls in line with everything else we're hearing, from the grab him by the pussy comment to E. Jean Carroll. But this is not a trial about his sexual improprieties. It's about money paid to somebody and where it came from. And it was his lawyer that delivered the check and paid out of his account. And he's testifying. Stormy Daniels is testifying. This is 34 counts of falsifying business records. It's a low-level felony. The punishment is 4 years in prison, but that's just long enough for us to dodge and be a president. Although it does not mean, Pam, that even if he is convicted and is incarcerated, that could he be president still? Make this make sense. What is happening?
Honestly, I don't know, because our founding fathers created the Constitution at a time where it was inconceivable that someone as criminal and habitual, a liar, a deceiver, a seditionist could be viewed by anybody as able to hold public office. I mean, back then they still did duels on insults to honor.
Yes.
So I just didn't think they didn't foresee that we as Americans would embrace so much criminality. So.
I want to sit there for a second. 866-801-8255, and I'm gonna put out the number because I'm disturbed by a couple of things today that I wanted to bring in reinforcements, which is why I reached out to you. Alvin Bragg, Manhattan District Attorney, alleged that Trump took part in a scheme with his then lawyer, Michael Cohen, and the publisher of the National Enquirer to suppress a scandalous story about him on the run-up to Election Day. Around this time, too, in addition to him trying to cover up this illicit affair that he had with a former adult film actress, Stormy Daniels, he also was on that bus with Billy Bush talking about, when you're famous, people just let you do anything. You can just walk up to women and grab them by the pussy. And in that moment, I remember saying, who's going to elect this man? I mean, the evangelicals, those that love Jesus, and while they go to their all-white churches, how can they make this make sense?
Because if you're in Florida, you get the answer to this, right? Because there's this kind of theory that kicks around the evangelical right that you can only fight fire without fire. If you see the Dems as evil and willing to do anything and hypersexualized and blah, 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 then the only person who could fight them is somebody who's even more crazy and criminal and evil and willing to do anything. They ride this like, Jesus is not going to use a milquetoast to fight these demons. He's going to use the most baddest, most evil, most relentless, most ruthless person. And so that's why we can put our faith in this guy, because he's fighting for the side of righteousness, but he's using a mighty sword. He's presenting the faith of strength. And so that's a stupid man's idea of a smart man and a weak man's idea of a strong man. And so that's why they believe that anything is justified in pursuit of the mission. And the mission is to squash LGBTQ. It's to squash Black people. It's to squash women. It's to squash liberalism, or just in general.
Immigrants are probably number one.
Immigrants, anything that undermines the ubiquitous authority of white men. And so he is the quintessential white man. And so they feel like anything he does is acceptable in the name of fighting this war, which is why they're not going to care if he gets convicted here. They're not going to care if he gets convicted in DC. They're not going to care if he gets convicted in Florida. They don't care, because as far as they're concerned, he's their Messiah. And anything he does is justified in the name of preserving white supremacy.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up because I was like, this doesn't line up with the Bible. But okay, thank you. Thank you. I want to play just a little levity in the midst of this because we're going to get into something more serious. There's a rapper named Piles, who I've absolutely fallen in love with. I didn't grow up listening to his music, but I love Plies. I'm sorry, Smith. Why do I call him Piles? I keep doing that. Maybe I'm a little dyslexic. Maybe I need to go get checked out for that because I do it a lot. It's my brain is seeing Piles and it's plies, like you're supplying us with knowledge. He is his delivery is comedic. It's a throwback to a time, but it is very clear to me that Plies is engaged with this political discourse in a way that I wish more of us would be. He knows all of the players, he knows what is happening, and he is able to disseminate the information in a way that I think might resonate with a lot of people that may think that they don't want to vote and they don't care, but he cares. I think he cares deeply about the future of this nation and at least right and wrong. I feel like whoever raised Plies raised this man to be a good person who cares about right and wrong. I don't know him, but I like him. Okay. I'm gonna play this clip. It's hilarious, but it's spot on at the same time, and we have to figure out how to deliver this stuff in a way that is not so. But the vitriolic delivery is out of frustration and anger that we even got here. So his whole thesis is, how did we get here? Play it, Smiz.
All right, this is my question for America. How did we get here? How did we get here? That you got somebody on trial right now in a courtroom who's a nominee for the president of the United States in 7 months. How did we get here? Just wipe that out of the way. How can you, in this country, be married and divorced 3 times and become president of the United States? How can you be in the highest office of the land and then file for bankruptcy 6, 7 times between you and your company? How did we get here? O.J. Simpson just died a couple days ago. R.I.P. to everybody, him, the family, everybody involved. And the day that he died, I seen on the news, online, and in public, they say, I don't give a damn what that jury said. He did it. He did it. 12 people on the jury said he didn't do it. The majority of this country said, I wouldn't give a damn. The evidence said he did it. He did it. The jury felt different, but they said evidence. But you got a guy over here. You got him on the live wire in Georgia trying to steal 11,000 votes. You see the classified documents in Mar-a-Lago. The feds said they got the surveillance of him moving them. The documents trying to hide them. Destroying evidence. Wouldn't get the documents back. The insurrection, we see it with our own. We see it on TV. The hush money payment, 9 signed checks by him. Money back to Michael Cohen. Fraud case, $400 million they found him liable for. Everybody around him done been in prison or indicted or in jail. Steve Bannon to Michael Flynn to Rick Gates to Peter Navarre to Alan Weisenberg to Rudy Giuliani's law. Everybody around him. How did we get here? Impeached twice. 80-some felony charges. How did we get here?
Yes, I will tap you in. That was Algernon Lanier Washington from the great state of Florida. He was valedictorian of Fort Myers Senior High School. He went to Miami University on a football scholarship. He was on the football team as a wide receiver, transferred to Central Florida, University of Central Florida, before dropping out and becoming Plies, the rapper who went on to, but again, smart man. Yes. How did we get here, Pam Keith? How did we get here?
Well, we got here because there's a certain class of extremely wealthy white men who never ever bought into the idea that the law was supposed to apply to them. The theory was that the law is written to protect white men and to constrain everybody else. And when the law was finally used to constrain the powerful, the rich, those who have, evaded our laws for this. When it's used to constrain them, they think it's the greatest of injustices. It's a witch hunt. How dare you, right? I mean, this is why the Jeffrey Epsteins and the those kinds, that level of person, Harvey Weinstein, those guys stayed doing crime for decades and were untouched, right? And they were untouched by people like Cyrus Vance, who was, by all intents, a district attorney, a state attorney that was a big popular guy in the Democratic Party, but he wouldn't touch him. Not that he didn't know what was going on, he wouldn't touch him, right? And so the reason we got here is that there's always been an expectation and an understanding that when a certain caliber of wealthy white people do crime, it's an injustice to hold them accountable to a judge who is not rich, to a prosecutor who is not rich, to a system that's not made up of rich people. It's not acceptable. It's unfair. And then when we do convict them, we put them in plush, cushy detention centers where they're, or put a band around their ankle and tell them they can hang out in their plush house. Remember when Roger Stone was complaining that, he got caught in his underwear. How dare you arrest him in his underwear? Like, no. The law is not supposed to constrain rich white people. It's supposed to protect rich white people. And that's how we got here. We got here because a few people who happen to not be rich white people like Fonnie Willis and people like
Alvin
Bragg,
yeah.
Alvin Bragg and people like Tisha James, they're like, no, the law is the law. And that's why people who support white supremacy are so offended when the law is applied in a way that does not actually enforce white supremacy, because it was written to enforce white supremacy.
It's going to be interesting how this plays out. If convicted. Now they're picking a jury. Voir dire is happening, I think tomorrow. Those of you who studied Latin, voir dire, dicere from Latin, to speak, to tell. Voir, they said, is old French. The truth means the truth. Yes. We were talking, Dr. Carr and I, on Saturday about the OJ trial and Johnny Cochran. It was more a tribute to Johnny Cochran and an indictment of America's twisted hypocrisy than it was any celebration of OJ Simpson. I say that to say, we were talking about the jury selection in the OJ trial being probably one of the central determining factors to why OJ was found not guilty. That jury that Marsha Clark assumed, because it was full of Black women, would somehow be so upset about OJ being, with a white woman, that they would find him guilty, just really is to me an underscoring of why this nation is so divided and we don't know each other. Well, I think Black people know white people because we've been forced to, we've had to, and we've also had to stuff ourselves into these tiny boxes of acceptability, some of us, and then some of us, into the stereotypes, but we live in a nation that is widely and wildly segregated, right? So that Marsha Clark didn't know that putting 8 Black people on the jury was going to be a problem for her speaks to this country, but that was the problem. So the jury selection in New York is going to be interesting because New York has no love for Donald J. Trump. How are they going to find 12 people? I don't know where they're going to find the people. This is the home of the Central Park Five, now the exonerated 5 that we remember. People in New York know Donald Trump is a grifter on so many levels, and Letitia James has got that that deal that do we call a civil case a conviction? Is it called a conviction?
When it's a finding of liability.
Finding of liability and inflating his wealth and all of that. Like, New York has, since the 80s, and those of you who are in sports, USFL, like we have, and I consider because I've been in New York, even though I live in Jersey and I'm from Jersey, but as the New York Daily News for 16 years, coming into New York every day, Donald Trump is no stranger. I don't know where they're going to find 12 people is the point. Let's
not forget that it's Manhattan, it's New York, right? So.
Oh, you're talking rich white wealthy people.
How many
Okay.
Wall Street bros,
Yes, you're
right?
right.
Now, usually Wall Street bros don't end up on a jury because they find a way to get out of it, right?
You think
Because
they're gonna want to this time? You think they're gonna?
I don't know.
Look at you.
I don't know.
Okay.
But we have tools now that we did not have in the past. Like now, every lawyer that is impaneling a jury is going to find everybody's social media handles and look at what they post and look at who they like and what they follow. We can do real deep dives on people, and I'm sure both sides have their teams with their laptops up, looking through people's social media posts to try to figure out, are they left or they right. In New York, it may be somewhat more difficult to find someone who's a true Trumper, but I think it's a very mistaken assumption that all the people who can afford rents in Manhattan are all liberals. Not true.
Okay. Yeah, you just said it. Soon as you said that, I was like, oh, Manhattan, because I'm like New York. No, Manhattan. You're absolutely right.
I guess it's the whole of the city.
No, you're right. You're right.
Right. I mean,
I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking of people I know. It's wild. I have, and this is again a function of the segregation. New York is also wildly segregated. When I was covering education, I did a whole editorial series on the school system because I covered education for the editorial board of New York Daily News, and I was stunned as I was doing my research how segregated the schools were, because New York is one of the most, they call it the melting pot, is the most diverse city in our country. It's got people from everywhere, Ellis Island, blah, blah, blah. But the schools are, you could find a school in New York City that's 98% white. You could find a school in New York City that is 99% black and Hispanic or 100% black. And I'm like, back then, it was the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was stunning to me. And to your point, right now, you can go to Upper East Side, and you're not going to see, the black people going to see are nannies and home health aides. They're going to be wheeling somebody's white child down the street, but they don't live there. I taught at Hunter College for 22 years. You're not seeing a whole lot of black folk, and you're right. Oh my goodness.
But
Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue.
The thing that tends to happen is you get invited to jury duty, and the people who make money by the hour, people who are, you find a way to get off a jury. Now, this time, maybe they won't be on a jury. I think it's interesting that who wants to be on this jury? That's a different question, right? Who wants to be on this jury, and who's going to get peremptorily kicked off? Assume that all the black women will be kicked off by peremptory challenge.
Okay.
Because there's no way under the sun that Donald Trump wants a black woman making a judgment on him. He's already had enough of Fonnie Willis.
And Letitia James.
Right. Assume anybody who's a lawyer is going to get kicked off. Right. And there are a lot of lawyers in New York. Assume that extreme, like the Hasidic Jews will probably be kicked off. Although maybe not. It's not 100% on that one, but they tend to not end up on juries. So I don't know what they do to end up not on juries, but they tend not to be on juries. Police officers, assume they'll be peremptorily challenged. They're off. Assume that you're not, I don't know that you're allowed to ask who they voted for, but you can ask them what's their principal source of information. Do they watch Fox News? Do they watch CNN? Do they watch MSNBC? It'll be interesting who makes it through, and more importantly, who wants to be on that jury, because that if you are on that jury, you and your family are now going to be targeted by Team Trump for positive or negative enforcement, right? And although they're supposed to be remaining anonymous or something like that, and I know there's going to be leaks, whatever. For the love of, as much as I personally would want to be on the jury to put him away forever, would I want to ruin my life to put him away for 4 years?
Right.
I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know who's going to be on that jury, to be honest with you.
Listen, you're making a really good case. It's also 2024, and people like the fame. They don't really know the consequences that come with it. But, I'm imagining there will be a lot of people that want to be on this jury just to say that they were on this jury, that they either helped convict him or help acquit him. This is a wild time that we're in. And to bring up social media and the things, I remember last time I got called for jury duty and I really wanted to sit on the jury because I was on the radio at the time. And I was like, I had spent most of my 20s and 30s avoiding juries. And my father, who was a parole officer, told me exactly what to say if you never want to be on a jury. So I came in armed with that. You will be dismissed, ma'am. You are dismissed. But I was like, I really want to be on a jury. And I was watching them, just strike people for, do you have bumper stickers? This is like really before social media was happening. So bumper stickers, people with the bumper stickers got stricken, because that's a certain kind of person that wears their, ideology on their car, their car's bumpers, which I don't have, by the way. I've never had a bumper sticker in my entire life on my car, and it's just not my thing. I don't need to tell you that, I love Jesus or dogs or whatever. But those of you who do, God bless you. By the way, do you have bumper stickers?
Me? I used to. I don't right now. I used to. I mean,
what'd you have?
Like a dump Trump sticker on my car.
Did you? Oh, you were okay.
I wanted it to be known that somebody had the nerve to say, "Dump this dude." In
Florida. So nobody vandalized your car?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe they did. My car has scratches, but I always assume I put them there.
Okay.
But no, I mean, everybody has their thing. My cars are not that fancy, so I'm like, whatever. I have a little AKA little thing on my drive. Whatever.
Okay. I was just curious, but now they can go to your social media and strike you and do
Absolutely.
that immediately.
And it's almost malpractice not to do that, to go to their social media and figure out. Because if you go to my social media, you're going to know a whole lot about what I think about a whole lot. Right? Why wouldn't you plumb the depths of that? I may be the ideal jurist for you. I may be the absolute worst person in the world for you. Right? So you would want to know that before. Now, there are a limited number of peremptory challenges. You can't you run out. Right? So you only have but so many that you can strike for cause. But
or for no cause. For no
cause, right? Just cause. Right? But certain kinds of statements could be worth a strike for cause, right? Like if I have expressed strong opinions about Donald Trump, which I have, then there's no way that I could even with a straight face claim that I would be unbiased, right? I don't know a whole lot of people could say they would be unbiased in a case.
That's what I'm saying. So folk are just gonna be lying to get on this. Hats off to the Bragg team, and let's see how they're going to put this jury together. 866-801-8255. This is the first ever criminal trial of a sitting or former president. He faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in a bid to cover up hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. It is going on right now. Apparently, according to Maggie Haberman, from the New York Times, who's sometimes problematic, mostly. She said that Donald Trump seemed to have fallen asleep during the trial. Already, he's 77. It's maybe
a sign of disrespect. It's just a sign of disrespect.
Yes. Okay. All right. Someone said that his legal team, Mother Jones bureau chief, wrote on Twitter that his legal team might have sedated him because he can't keep still and behave himself. What the hell, y'all? Nuclear codes, really? We're going to do this? I'm with Plies right now. Really? Y'all going to put the nuclear codes back? We've dodged a bullet, literally, for 4 years, primarily because of a pandemic when everything was shut down. Get this man 4 more years and a mandate in the nuclear codes. Y'all are bugging right now. Please, stop it. Show up to vote. No down ballot BS. We like Cornel West and his ascots, but come on, y'all. Stop it. This cannot happen.
I won't just say yes. Need you to do more and say less. I won't just say yes. Need you to do more and say less.